morning, everyone. I'm excited to dive into this topic. We're going to talk about building your team. This could be for either your acquisition side, which we call our taken team, or this could be for the disposition side, which would be your buyer team or your sold team. But Chris and I are going to walk through the journey where Chris started as the solopreneur inside our investment real estate company, and then we'll show you the evolution, and then show you what we have going on today. Because today we are producing some massive results on a day-to-day basis without Chris or I being there in the trenches as far as making phone calls or handling all of the front end labor. It's really now about creating deals inside our company, and that's when the fun actually starts happening. So, Chris,
Hey
if
Zach,
you
I
could,
wanted to let me dive in too. I mean, I'm thinking these guys, so many of the wicked smart listeners don't know if they're not in QLS, and tens of thousands of them aren't. That in the QLS program we have, QLS stands for Quantum Leap System. For those of you that might be new listeners here, in that program, there's at least two videos we call the path that high level outlines it, not to the level we're going to talk about because we're talking about acquisitions today, but it highlights basically our journey. So you go, okay, I just need to follow that. Literally, you can model that. So I just want to make sure that the new people hear that, Zach.
well, yeah, that's the basis for everything, right? That's our systems, that's our techniques. If you don't have that, I highly recommend it because it is going to give you all of the tools in which we're going to talk about today. So, Chris, let's just take a step back. Was it 8 years ago now when you first started this? Is that am I dating you?
Well, you always do, but yeah, 13. So yeah, we're good. Eight is good.
All right. So 8 years ago, you started. Tell us, more or less what you were doing, maybe on your day to day, and then let's talk about the evolution of you taking on a couple people, so that way the listener can start to see, what their next steps would be as a solopreneur.
Yeah, you and I were talking about earlier, just reminiscent that when we're talking to like the high six and all the students, when they have challenges, I literally say, okay, I did that, and Zach did that. Like, just follow what we're doing. We get it. And then that was this action wise. It was walking 2 blocks from my one-bedroom apartment down to my office to start the terms business, and it was get on the phone. I was training as a realtor, remember? So for me, it was phone. You're going to get into automation stuff later that you spearheaded, but it was pick up the phone, dialing expires and FISBOs. Period. That was it. There was nothing else to do when you knew.
Yeah, no, I agree. I did the exact same thing. I tell people all the time because now we do have these automation systems that are actually our wicked smart community is brought to the table on a next level, and our systems are continuing to advance. But I tell people get back on the phone because that's all I did. I had sheets of paper in which I printed out, and I had a 1 through 31 folder. So one folder for every single day of the month, and that was my follow-up system, which was absolutely archaic. But it was a good system.
Did you have scripts? Did you pin scripts up? I forget. I did. Like at the very beginning, even though I had years of real estate, I pinned my term scripts up on the freaking computer.
Well, the funny thing is, we didn't really have scripts. What we had was a property information lead sheet and our commonly asked questions. That was our scripts. So I used to just have the property information lead sheet, which again you can find in QLS, and then Nick and I actually revised it to make it more flowing, so it actually was a built-in script. And I would just read it because it just prompts me to ask questions, and then as soon as I get a rebuttal, I would just go to the commonly asked questions and literally read it out verbatim, which were like small little paragraphs. And those are my calls. So now that we have this advanced of like 8 scripts for any single thing that you can think of that happens, it's amazing that some still do not follow the scripts and print them out. So that was a good point, Chris. So Chris, you go from doing it all on your own to then you hire a VA. Why did you believe it was necessary to hire a VA? Because you and I both get this question all the time. Like, when should I hire a VA? And like, I guess I don't have the money. So like, why would I start spending money on leads? So
Two things come to mind, and I'm sure you're going to have a few. One is if you're going to scale, after you get your legs, so to speak, with the scripts. Like you got to do calls. You got to understand the scripts so that when you're training a VA or frankly a team, you know the ropes. So you call. But the reason I transition is twofold. One, scale. I only can do so many calls. I mean, I was single dialing. They'll learn more what you're doing now, but I was single dialing the phone, so you only can do so many. So I added him to the mix. He's still with us to this day, and our associates have access to him, just so the wicked smart listeners know. That's pretty cool because that's an experienced guy. Now, secondly, from the money standpoint, I know you know this, so I'm preaching to the choir here, so to speak. But fact is, whatever you're paying a VA, and I'm not belittling it. The fact is, it's less than you're worth. If our deals are worth 75 grand a piece, some of our students much higher, we're lower, all 3 paydays. What are you thinking about not having a VA day one? I started a new student last week, Zach, as you know, and he said, "Oh, I don't know if I can do that." I said, "Look, get rid of other stuff, get a VA," and he did. He's coachable. He did. So that's a must.
Yeah, I agree. When we talk about overhead, it's usually and this is more of an advanced person, it's like $1,000 or less in your total overhead. Most wholesaling business or most other business in real estate are going to be tens of thousands of dollars as you grow. And still to this day, we don't have a high overhead, and we're doing a bunch of deals a month. So that was a great point, Chris. And then you went from you and the VA to it was important that you get an admin assistant there. And why did you choose to do that? Like, what was the thought process behind bringing an admin in?
It's such a cool entrepreneurial process that's so predictable if you just get a grip on this. And that all it was okay, I was doing calls, then our VA was doing calls. What does that result in? Deals. It's not maybe, just so if you listen, go, oh, geez, I wish it, no, it'll work for you. Just do what we say to do. So then deals are coming. And now I'm going in the morning, instead of picking up the phone, I'm getting distracted with paperwork because I got sellers and buyer contracts to do. And so I said, okay, I need a VA to do that so she can handle all the stuff that goes up to our attorney right up the street. Done. So then I offloaded all the paperwork. I took a couple screenshots to show how to do it. And now I stay on the phone, generating more deals. It was just a stepping stone. That's all it was.
Yeah, paperwork is the worst. So anytime you can get an admin to come in and start helping you with these things, that's going to allow you to continue to grow and do more and more deals. For their perspective, like how many deals are you doing a month with just that small team?
So it started obviously the standard. I'll give you the mental piece because you know this mental game is a big piece. So it started with, oh, it'd be cool to do one a month. And then it was starting to fire on all cylinders. And I started saying, oh, this is kind of cool. So you get your mental legs. As you know, it's such a big piece here. And then I said, wow, one a week is really cool flow. Like this is starting to be fun. Now the profits are stacking up, the spreadsheet's stacking up. And so it got to one a week pretty quickly. But there were some peak months, maybe a year and a half later, where I remember specifically the records were 3 months in a row at 10 contracts taken per month. I mean, that's with a tight team. And I'm not saying everybody's goal is that. I'm not saying that at all. And we were doing a lot of AOs back then. But the fact is, you can do one a month. And most of you and I talk to say, yeah, get me to one a month. That's cool. They like so many people you and I talk to want to make 10 grand a month, 120 grand a year. And I don't mean to belittle that for those of you out there going, oh, like I'd like to do that. That's easy. Sorry, but that's easy. We can get you there.
And so we have this small team, and we're ticking away. And then if you guys haven't watched the path on QLS, then you'll realize that Nick comes in at this point in time into the family company and starts helping Chris with the selling side. And then I don't know, about a year later, Kayla and myself come into the company for now the acquisition side. And actually, at the time, many people don't know this. Nick and I used to make phone calls together. And because at the time we just wanted to take on as many properties as possible, and we started to get to a point where it was really consistent between that 4 and 10 deals a month, on automatic. And I also tell people, as I had a call recently with associates, I said the funnest time in my life when I was making phone calls, because I am not somebody that loves mundane all the time, doing the same calls, which is part of the process, was when me and Nick used to make calls, because we used to have the cowbell, and anytime we got a lead, we would ring this cowbell as loud as possible. And just so everyone listening knows, it was a like 1 floor office with these very thin walls. So everybody heard what the heck was going on with Nick and I. So realize that that is
We gotta bring that back somehow, because that's maybe not for a lead, because that's a joke now, but we gotta bring the cowbell back.
Yeah, I think so. It was a purple cowbell. We rang it at I think the second or third event as well, QLS event. So that was a lot of fun. So my point with bringing that up is, as soon as you can start to build in your team now we're going to start transition when I came into play. So that way the entrepreneur here can start to realize, like, eventually they can start pulling themselves out of that seat and start building a team and still be successful and still doing a lot of deals. As soon as you start building a team, it becomes a lot of fun again, in my personal opinion. It becomes fun because now that I have my team and we're utilizing this one channel in Slack, which is basically a communication platform, and I'm just watching them like feed off each other. Like, you got somebody got a deal, and then you got somebody coming and telling them it was an awesome job, and then now the other teammates coming in and making the second phone call, and then they're talking about that lead, and just watching it transpire over a day is a lot of fun.
Zach, you just dropped a nugget on them, though, because that's the second time in our company history, you and I, that we realized when we instituted Slack for our Wicked Smart community, it was some serious glue that helped them a lot to form relationships. And then you did it again with this team. And so if you're listening, if you have one team member, or when you do, it doesn't have to be Slack, but put something together like that, because I'm watching the Zach's Taken team on there, and they're loving it. I mean, the momentum and the energy is fantastic.
So then Kayla and I come into play. Kayla ends up working heavy admin and really a controller, and still it's great to this day with every aspect there. And I move into the acquisition side, or the taking team side. So then it becomes like Chris, the VA, and I move into the seller specialist role. And then as that continues, I take on the entire seller specialist role, which means, in my mind, and what we train people on is, like, you're able to take an expired call or something from absolute cold and bring it all the way to a property under agreement or a taking. And that's not something you're gonna have to do forever, but it is something that you're gonna be running alongside, especially if you're trying to do 4 to 10 deals a month. You're gonna be running alongside your VA. So how we scripted this thing out was, I was making expired calls, and the VA was making for sale by owner calls. That way we could acquire enough leads to hit our goals, because now we have a family team. It's Chris, Nick, myself, and Kayla. We have a family team now, plus an admin, Sue, that we got to feed. So now we're talking about, we need to do deals, and we need to do them heavily. So now we're really bringing the heat here and bringing some leads in. At that point in time, I think we were doing 30 plus leads a week, 35 to 40 leads a week, bringing in the door, plus 5. I was doing somewhere between 3 and 5 appointments in one day every single week. So that's what I mean by a seller specialist. Now, you don't have to do the volume which I talked about. I just want you to realize that you can do the volume, or you can whittle that thing down.
Hey, Zach, just another plug for the community, and I don't want to throw you off, but when you did that, again, we're all about only teaching what we do. When you did that, and someday we'll be back to it, we have office visits for associates. They come to the office, if you're not familiar with that. And they would jump in the car with Zach and go all day. So at some point when COVID subsides and we get back to it, just know that you will witness this, what we're talking about. Side note.
Yeah, just hopefully I won't be driving you around. Maybe we'll have my team.
Well, I already know who's going to be driving around. It ain't going to be you.
But yeah, that was always a ton of fun too. So if you're even thinking about joining the associate and knowing that COVID's going to subside probably in the next 6 to 12 months, the office visit in itself is going to be life-changing as far as the perspective of the business. We've seen associates' minds completely be blown and open up once we sat down with them in the 2-day office visit. Let's fast forward now. So over the past basically 6 months, this idea of creating this taking team now has evolved, and now it's in full effect. But what do I mean by that? There's 4 people that tend to be involved in this taking team. And after I tell you about me, more or less the basis of the team. I'm going to tell you about the steps in which to get you to a team like this. So you have the VA, the virtual assistant, who runs the front lines. Like they in a perfect world of this team are the ones that are bringing in all the leads. But the truth is, it's going to be something similar to what I originally did, which is the VA's bringing in leads, and so is the seller specialist. So you get a VA, you get a seller specialist, and then now we have an admin virtual assistant, somebody that can execute agreements like we just talked about, but more importantly, is able to control your CRM and your database. This is where it's just started to advance significantly. I'm not going to take credit. Our associate community, because one of our core values is to constantly innovate and improve, brought FreedomSoft to the table. Now, FreedomSoft is an amazing CRM and database, and it's able to really bring your leads through your entire funnel and create some automation into your business. You can do more and more deals. So I can just imagine that if we had that back in the day, how many more deals we would have done, because it wasn't all manual for me and Chris and the VA. Like now this thing is ticking away, and it is very, very organized.
You might also drop the link, Zach, because again, you and I talk as if like we're just talking to our 4 associates, right? We don't have 4, but I'm saying, so drop the link for the Wicked Smart listeners that might not know where to get that.
Yeah, it's smartrealestatecoach.com/freedomsoft. And if for some reason you get lost, just go to smartrealestatecoach.com page and go to the resource section. So now we have VA, now we have a VA. Typically, you don't need more than one that runs that database. And right now, we're actually offering that service inside our associate community now, as we're building out exactly what we do. And we're building it out, and now we're presenting it to the associates as well. So now they can have a team that is set up just like us. Now, this has been an absolute game changer. This admin VA, I can't say enough about it, because their job is to make sure that they're importing leads from different databases like MyPlusLeads, PropStream. You can get, we'll include those in the show notes, but you can get 14-day free trials from both of those. smartrealestatecoach.com/PropStream or smartrealestatecoach.com/MyPlusLeads. Those are where our leads come from. So now they're able to import all of those leads. They're then able to answer a lot of the automation, because what happens is as we're making outbound calls, as we're sending text messages, as we're sending emails, people are responding, and I'm not the one responding. My seller specialist is typically not the one responding. Our admin VA is responding to all of the questions and concerns associated with the sellers, and then moving them into buckets. So that way each person on the team knows, hey, I own this. So that way when our team comes into our day, the seller specialist knows which leads he owns. I understand which leads I own. And the VA, the outbound call VA, understands which leads they own as well. So it's extremely organized and very fluid. This is the way I want you to picture this, and then we'll move on to the steps and how you can create this team. If you're listening to this or if you're watching this, I encourage you to take out a piece of paper. If you're driving, please just wait till later. And draw a funnel. Draw a funnel. You know, obviously wide at the top and skinny at the bottom. And then what I want you to do is draw it's 3 lines across the funnel. Okay. So as the leads come into that funnel, you're first going to have your VA. So that first line that you drew at the top of the funnel, write VA next to it. Then the second line in the middle, draw seller specialist next to it. And then at the bottom there in that last line, draw you next to it, right? You. That's how your process works now. Leads come in, your VA vets. The VA vets then brings it to the next level, your seller specialist vets. And then that way you are now in the position to just do deals. It's so powerful that now when I work and jump into my taking team, that I have like the top cream of the crop, 10% of the leads that have come into the funnel Those are the ones that I need to contact. Those are the ones that I need to get booked on an appointment. Those are the ones that agreements need to go out or options need to be sent to. So now you get put in the best position possible, which is the fun part about being like a deal designer or a transaction engineer. So at this point, I'm sure you're thinking like, this is freaking awesome. Like, why wouldn't I want to do this? This takes time and it evolves. The number one thing I caution everyone on is never try to delegate and elevate too fast. I've seen too many people fail because they say, hey, I'm going to go build this team. I'm going to spend money on this team, but they don't understand each level. So that way they fail because they don't know how to teach it. And if they get good leads that have been vetted by their VA and their sales specialists, they don't even know how to close them. So we want to put you in a position for your money producing activity, which is closing these deals now.
We're in that batch too, by the way. We make same mistakes. Like we're not bulletproof. So I say that to say we've made a crap load of mistakes in 400 deals or so. So again, we're going to give you the good, the bad, the ugly when you come in our community.
Oh yeah, and the truth is too, this team has evolved because I personally made some bad hires and didn't put the right people in the right seats. So it does take time to make. So you got to make sure that, and I encourage you to, don't build this too fast, but just make sure that as you come across successful people or people that you believe can support your team, that you then spend your time and effort to train them, build them up. And do want to say this too. It does not matter whether your VAs or even your seller specialists are in the United States or are in the Philippines or outside the country. The only difference I would say would be is if you do not want to go on appointments in the near future, that make sure your seller specialist is local, because you want to be able to offload that, so that way you're not the one going on all your appointments. Okay, let's talk about the steps. This has been packed. It's like 6 o'clock in the morning too, and I'm fired up. I haven't had coffee.
I had one. I'm ahead of you, but I'm letting you roll.
These are the steps. First, number one, when you're the solopreneur, you come in, you are an overpaid virtual assistant. It's just facts. Your only job is to bring in leads. That's it. Just bring in leads. You need to fill the funnel. Just bring in leads. You're a VA. Then, so step number two, you advance. You then become a seller specialist, which is awesome. Now you can take a cold lead and bring it to a deal, bring it to an agreement, get it under contract. Then third step then becomes you become a deal designer or a transaction engineer, as we stated in our Amazon best-selling books. And what that means is now you can take any and all deals and be able to decide if, number one, it's a good deal, but secondly, be able to morph that type of morph all of the pieces together, pull on the right levers, and create deals. Then the fourth step would then be the CEO, the business owner, the person overseeing the team. So as you move up those steps or down those steps in your funnel, you're then going to fill that role with somebody. And it's just, as you follow those steps, your team will be created within that process. And as soon as you have those first 4 steps, it's going to be real easy to be adding some support like an admin VA or FreedomSoft VA. So that way you can then have your entire team leveraged and moving at 100% speed there. So
just a team comment. Just a quick team comment, because I'm thinking of the listener going, I'm always trying to think of the listener as you're talking, especially I had some time to think and say, okay, the team thing can be overwhelming. I get it. But in addition to us, that you just said, we'll help them, we'll drag them along with us. We plug into an outside organization to help us do that. And we suggest our associates do. So just know that there's all kinds of resources, and they're on the resource page. We don't need to get into detail, but the fact is, we bring those type of things to the table. We don't just bring deals. You're going to need all this outside influence, and we give you enough connections to get you through that. So don't worry about that.
Yeah, Chris, that's a great point. And I was always told that starting a business typically comes out of necessity, but scaling a business is a choice. So you can take each and every one of these steps and you can stop if you so choose to. Maybe you say, hey, I love doing deals. I love going on appointments. I love handling the paperwork. You know, I just want to be a solopreneur, or I just want to have one admin VA, or I just want to have an outbound call VA. And that's,
Yeah,
and I'm
do
happy.
6 or 10 a year. Like that's I don't want to keep saying it's easy, but you can do 6 or 10 a year with the way Zach just said. You really can.
So just know that you're hearing it from me, who loves scaling it and growth. That's just something that I'm passionate about. So you can stop at any point in time, and that's not wrong. But what I want you to realize is that you can build a team in order to really have this business ticking away, and only have to be inside the business for a couple hours a week and still be doing a boatload of deals. So that would be the number one reason why I'd want to build that team.
All right, guys. So you got resources galore. You got a lot of cool nuggets from Zach. You can jump over to the resource page on smartrealestatecoach.com and literally plug into any and all of our resources. We should have said it in that light. We kept dropping the nuggets, but they're all there and you can check it out for free. We don't hide it. We give you, the Wicked Smart listener, everything we give the associates. You have access to it. Because this is going to be airing on or about April when you're hearing us, we're almost transitioning to May. I will tell you, if you want to learn how to do deals, I'm talking about really tearing apart some deals and understanding how and why we structure them. We have a very cool event. It's one day. It's deal structuring only, and it's virtual. So I just put it out to every single one of you that you can get there. Just go to summerofdeals.com, summerofdeals.com. It's gonna be really cool. And for the associates, they're not paying, but we kept the price so low for you Wicked Smart listeners. I think it's like 130 bucks, Zach, or 140 bucks. You'll see it on the site. It's just ridiculously low. Also, I want to say this, announcing to the entire Wicked Smart community, because we're at the end of April here, transitioning hopefully into some cool times for May. If you're out in the community and you've been listening to us for a while, some of you have been listening to us for years on this podcast, and we appreciate that. We now have the ability to, with another partner we brought on, to finance you to come into the community. That's a game changer for you personally. If you've been holding back, make sure you get in touch with us. Just go to smartrealestatecoach.com/action.